In modern democracies, the power to identify threats, protect civilians, and decide who gets surveilled or detained belongs to public institutions. Institutions accountable to law and the people. But what happens when a private company begins performing those functions with less oversight and fewer legal constraints?
The most dangerous corporation in America is one you may not have heard of. It's called Palantir Technologies, a Silicon Valley tech company that may put your most basic freedoms at risk. Palantir gets its name from a device used in The Lord of the Rings. If this weren't such a serious subject, I'd spend the whole video making funny Lord of the Rings references.
Why do tech giants always pick the corniest of names?
I won't do that because there's nothing funny about the real dangers of Palantir. Think about this. What do AI, the US military, domestic surveillance, and the tech oligarchy all have in common? Palantir, co-founded by far-right billionaire Peter Thiel and its current CEO Alex Karp.
We buy a lot of things from Palantir.
In J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, a Palantir is a seeing stone, something like a crystal ball, that can be used to spy on people and distort the truth. During the War of the Ring, a Palantir falls under the control of the evil Sauron, who uses it to manipulate and deceive. Palantir Technologies bears a striking similarity. It sells AI-based data platforms that let their clients, including governments, militaries, and law enforcement agencies, quickly process and analyze massive amounts of your personal data. Whether it's social media profiles, bank account records, tax history, medical history, or driving records, the tools that Palantir sells are used to help clients identify and monitor individuals like you. Why?
I feel like when I was a kid, growing up and hearing about, all the different surveillance laws coming in after 9/11, and, the news about Australia doing the whole data retention scheme where they retain all the data for like 7 years or something on these massive servers, and that's all of Australia's web traffic. And they're the only ones who do that other than America. But all this, it just like always seemed like this system existed that was interconnected with all the data that they had on us. And, police used it to investigate and intelligence services were using it and stuff. But the reality is that it didn't exist. And there were constitutional protections that kind of kept it from existing until it has evolved out of this private sphere in the US. So it's kind of like the fiction becoming the reality.
Should this matter to you? Billions of your tax dollars are going to Palantir, and what Palantir is working on could be used against you. Early in his current term, Trump signed an executive order requiring government agencies to consolidate all of their information about you into one giant database, something that has never been done before. To help process this massive amount of information, Trump chose Palantir. Trump claims this is about efficiency, but as one Silicon Valley investor described it, Palantir is, quote, building the infrastructure of the police state. Data privacy experts warn that when government data is pooled together, it can be used by a tyrant to intimidate or silence opposition. The possibilities for abuse are huge. One of Palantir's major projects is a new immigrant surveillance system for ICE's deportations. We've already seen.
That is not surprising. Like, seeing video of them going after DoorDash drivers, it's like, I wonder where they got that data from. Right? I bet you they got it directly from DoorDash.
Trump target people or organizations he considers enemies? Imagine if he could punish or deny services to individual Americans based on their political affiliation, whether they've attended a protest, or even posted an unflattering picture of him online. Palantir could be giving Trump the power to do just this. Palantir co-founder and Trump ally Peter Thiel has made no secret of his disdain for democracy, writing, quote, "I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible." But when he speaks of freedom, he isn't thinking about you. To him, freedom means that he and his fellow tech oligarchs get to do what they want without consequences, while the rest of us live in an authoritarian police state. It's a match made.
It's like he doesn't understand the definition of democracy. I suppose he can't, being from a ruling capital class, so disconnected from the rest of society that he feels that certain parts of society deserve to be heard and others don't. And the fact that he feels, I mean, he may not even feel that way. He may just be drumming it up for, the purpose of selling Palantir as a product to governments. But it's just a fundamental, lie. Because the more you surveil, the more you enforce menial crimes on your population, it's massively destabilizing. I mean, America already has the largest incarcerated population in the world. Do they really need a system that makes it even easier for them to convict and jail people? They're not having a hard time at the moment.
Trump gets the infrastructure to go after his enemies. Thiel gets to end American democracy. And if Thiel's anti-democratic sentiments weren't terrifying enough, it also appears he isn't sure if humans are all that great either.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation.
The danger of
What?
Palantir's AI-powered super database.
Do you want the human race to... Does he know he's a human? That's you too, dude. Even just from a public speaking perspective, freezing up on that question is a horrible indication of your intentions.
On all Americans is amplified by the vast wealth and power of those associated with it and their apparent disdain for democratic institutions. To protect democracy and our individual freedoms, we need to elect leaders who will defend the public from corporations like Palantir, not partner with them. Tolkien's Palantir fell under the control of Sauron. Thiel's Palantir is falling under the control of Trump. How this story ends is up to all of us. Please help spread the word by sharing this video.
Wow. Yeah. Palantir, once a controversial but conventional government contractor, has evolved into a private force capable of performing core state functions: mass data analysis, threat identification, and surveillance. In doing so, it undermines constitutional limits on surveillance, erodes separation of powers, and effectively privatizes decisions historically reserved for the government itself. So what does Palantir do? We heard a little bit of it in the video there. Palantir builds software platforms used by governments to integrate massive data sets and run AI-driven analytics, ranging from intelligence work to law enforcement targeting and even military AI assistance in threat detection. Originally, this meant helping agencies use data they already had, but increasingly its products are used to shape what those agencies do with the data, from who they investigate to what constitutes a threat. Now, the US Constitution and democratic systems give the government, not private entities, the authority to investigate threats, decide whom to surveil, and determine danger and appropriate enforcement action. This authority is constrained by constitutional protections, the Fourth Amendment's warrant requirements, for example. But Palantir's AI tools analyze integrated data in ways that can predict likelihood of suspicious behavior, flag individuals for enforcement, and assist agencies in making operational decisions that resemble state power. And critics argue that this skews the balance. A private company is effectively executing components of policing and intelligence, traditionally public responsibilities, with minimal security. During 2025, reporting alleged that Palantir had been tapped to help government efforts to unify datasets across federal agencies, combining information from DHS, IRS, HHS, Social Security, and more into accessible analytics. Why does this matter constitutionally? Well, a centralized database accessible by government, built and managed by a private vendor, blurs the lines between citizen privacy protections and private access. Constitutional limits on government power hinge on public control and oversight. When private tech companies operate the pipelines, accountability weakens. Because Palantir's tools don't collect data themselves, but aggregate and analyze everything others collect, it centralizes decision-making power outside traditional legal bounds. This is not peripheral data processing, it's core threat evaluation and profiling. Palantir's historical partnerships include ICE and US law enforcement, where its software has been used in deportation and investigation operations. Internal documents show tools like Palantir's systems become mission critical for operators. And this is where moral grey turns legally questionable. If a private company's tool is essential in deciding whom federal enforcement targets, how is that constitutional? Who is accountable when the data flags results in arrests or detentions? These aren't hypothetical issues. These are real operational decisions influenced by algorithms that lack public transparency. In recent debates, lawmakers raised concerns that unifying such sensitive datasets could create a digital ID capable of tracking individuals far beyond traditional constitutional limits. Meanwhile, Palantir itself asserts it does not build or propose such databases and emphasizes it obeys privacy laws. But contract language and implementation practices suggest something more complex, where legal compliance is assumed, but public oversight is minimal. So the core problem is its comprehensive power without corresponding public governance. When private platforms decide who gets flagged, what counts as a threat, and which data is relevant, they are performing functions that should be constrained by law and democratic oversight. If the state cannot prosecute, check, or audit these decisions effectively, then private power fills the vacuum created by weak regulation. This is not merely controversial tech. It's a systematic shift from public institution accountability to private algorithmic authority. As democracies grapple with AI and big data, the Palantir case is a warning. When private companies begin doing what only sovereign states should do, without public transparency or constitutional safeguards, democratic governance is at risk. This is not just a legal argument, it's a structural one. Authority and power equals accountability. If authority is exercised privately, accountability disappears. We must ask, who guards the guardians when the guardians are private corporations?